In 1809, Napoleon Bonaparte had the Pope arrested. The most powerful man in Europe put the leader of the Catholic Church in prison. For 6 years, the Pope was Napoleon's prisoner. 6 years later, the one who walked out of prison was the Pope. The one who got thrown off his throne was Napoleon. Right now, someone is pushing the Pope around again. History has already shown us how this ends once. In the early 1800s, Napoleon had conquered most of Europe. Kings had fallen, borders had been redrawn, armies had been crushed. But there was one thing Napoleon could not conquer with a military, and that was the loyalty of 100 million European Catholics to the man sitting in Rome. The Pope had no army, no navy, no treasury worth mentioning, but in a continent that still organized its entire moral world around the Catholic Church, the Pope's approval meant something that canons couldn't produce. Napoleon needed that approval. He needed the Church on his side. Two men, Napoleon, Emperor of France, military genius, the most powerful political figure in the world, and Pope Pius VII, quiet, patient, the man Napoleon invited to Paris for his coronation in 1804, then humiliated by grabbing the crown and placing it on his own head. The Pope made the trip. Napoleon took the moment. After that, the demands kept coming. Napoleon wanted the Church to serve French imperial interests. Pius VII kept refusing. In 1809, Napoleon annexed the Papal States and had the Pope arrested. Pius VII was taken to France and held for 6 years. Napoleon had won. The most powerful man in Europe had the Pope in a cell. That was the official picture. Pius VII was in French custody, cut off from Rome, cut off from his bishops. Napoleon had every physical advantage, and the Pope's response for 6 straight years was the same word: no. If you lock someone up, their influence disappears. That's the logic. That's why people get locked up. Remove the person, remove the power. So here is the question. While the Pope was sitting in a cell saying no to Napoleon, what were 100 million European Catholics thinking? Did the imprisonment make them trust Napoleon more? Did it make them forget who the Pope was? Or did the image of a Pope in chains, refusing to bend, travel further and hit harder than anything the Pope could have done from Rome? You can put a fire in a box, that doesn't mean you've put it out. Napoleon held the Pope for 6 years, and those same 6 years were the years Napoleon's empire started falling apart. In 1812, the Russian campaign collapsed. An army of 600,000 men went in. Less than 100,000 came back. Across Europe, coalitions formed against him. By 1814, Napoleon was forced to abdicate. The Pope went home to Rome that same year. The story is that Napoleon fell because of military overreach. Too many wars, too many fronts, too far into Russia. But here is the timing. Napoleon was holding a prisoner that half of Europe considered spiritually untouchable, and doing it at the exact moment he needed every ally he could get. Letting the Pope go could have separated the religious argument from the military one. It could have taken one enemy off the board. He never let go. When you're losing a fight, holding on to something that costs you more than it gives you isn't strength. It's the fight winning you, not you winning the fight. After Napoleon fell, Pius VII returned to Rome. The Papal States were restored. The property Napoleon had seized came back. And across Europe, the Catholics who had watched a Pope refuse to break for 6 years didn't forget what they had seen. The Church came out of the Napoleon era stronger than it went in. Napoleon's defeat was military, that's the clean version. Russia broke him, the coalitions finished him, the Pope was just one piece of a much larger collapse. But here is what Angle 1 showed us: the imprisonment didn't silence the Pope, it amplified him. And what Angle 2 showed us: Napoleon couldn't let go even when holding on was costing him everything. Now add this: the man who spent 6 years trying to crush the Church ended up making it stronger. Not despite the imprisonment, possibly because of it. So here is the question. When you attack something that runs on moral authority instead of military power, do you weaken it, or do you hand it exactly the kind of story it needs? Right now, someone is attacking the Pope on live television. Napoleon tried it with an army and a prison cell. It's worth asking whether the weapon matters or whether the pattern does. A fist through a window hurts the window, but it always hurts the fist too. We started with the official story. Napoleon had the Pope. 6 years, a prison cell, the most powerful military in the world, the emperor won. But what we actually saw was a pope who refused to break, whose imprisonment made him harder to ignore, not easier. A man who couldn't let go of a prisoner even as his empire collapsed around him, and a church that came out of the whole thing stronger than it went in. Now someone is attacking the Pope on live television, and the word everyone keeps using is unprecedented. Napoleon didn't think it was unprecedented either. He thought he was the exception, the one strong enough to make it work. So here is the only question that matters. Is Trump's attack on the Pope something history has never seen before, or is it something history has seen before and already recorded the ending of?